Hey everyone, this is Lil J. Join me every Saturday night at 11 p.m. Eastern for The Block Party. A 2-hour journey of the best in the Canadian underground dance music scene, featuring tracks and DJ mixes from Canada's emerging artists, from the disco hits of the 70s to the latest dance floor fillers. No lineups or cover charges, it's your weekly free access to the beats that are packing dance floors in Canada and around the world. The Block Party, Saturday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern, right here on 102.9 Whistle FM.
We're back on Fresh Waves. We're talking with Laurie Benson, and we're going to talk about witches now. It seems like there are modern-day witches, there's olden-day witches, there's the Hallmark picture. I shouldn't say Hallmark, but, you know, that stereotypical picture of a woman in a black dress with a green face, kind of probably the Wizard of Oz. Really solidified that version of a witch in everybody's mind. You know, the pointy hat, the cat, the riding the broom, the whole thing, black cat. And the other witch that, you know, is pretty popular right now is the Disney version of the witch in Pirates of the Caribbean. And she's in the cave and she's very witchy. I love her. I think her whole character is fantastic. She's just wonderful. And then, of course, she looks more like a medicine woman. Mm-hmm. Doesn't she? She looks like an ancient medicine woman who would have known the herbs and felt the energy and just be a little more connected than the rest of the world might be.
Yes, that's, you know, I don't know too many stereotypical witches anymore. When people started looking into the whole Wicca resurgence, or, you know, it is a made-up thing that comes out of the 30s from Gerald Gardner. And, you know, he basically established his own coven, and people took it for real and repeated the things. So there's validity to that. But I remember the days in the 80s when you dress up in black all the time and wear more jewelry than could sink a ship.
Yes.
Just to, you know, to go to ritual and cloaks, and it was a big deal to dress as a witch. Now, not so much. Mostly people wear tie-dye. They look like old hippies.
But there are still, to this day,
boy, that's funny.
There are bona fide witches, are there not?
There are. And there are people following many, many different paths. As you said, you can have your Celtic pagans, Neo-Celtic pagans, which is a reenactment type of thing. You've got Vikings, holy cow, the Asatru, tons. You've got, traditional, the Gardnerian, Alexandrian, and Corralliite Wicca. And you've got, you know, green witches, which I consider myself one because I'm a herbalist. You've got, I don't know, you've got Native Canadian ceremonialists, you've got traditional ceremonialists where you have to learn a lot of Latin words. I'm not one for following a path that has too many rules in it.
Right, like the Wiccans is quite regimented in their beliefs, are they not?
It is, and I did go to the Wiccan Church of Canada in Toronto for a little while. It was especially nice to have they did trimester ceremonies for pregnant women, and that was really nice to be honored as you go through your 3 trimesters. But I tell you, how come you guys all wear black? How come you have to have different degrees on your belt? How come you can't wear amber if you're not first degree? And you know, I had so many questions. I said, why do you meet on Sundays? This is like, you know, if I wanted to go to a Christian church, I would, you know.
Exactly.
But I just had all these questions, and so they got a little irritated with me, and I went off to find something else to do. But I'm not dissing it. It is a really good path with a lot of structure to follow.
Right.
Especially if you don't know, how to work on your own. But there are a lot of solitary witches that just go and worship in nature, light their candles there, or their little altar at home. Almost everyone has an altar with sacred objects, or once you've been around for a while, it just might be a few things that really mean something to you. You don't have to have a statue of Diana or anything like that. So,
who's Diana?
She's the huntress goddess.
Mm-hmm.
So that's for people who are doing the Greek and Roman reenactment type of bringing the attention to their gods and goddesses. I think she's the Greek one, or she's the Roman one. Oh, no, don't. If anyone's listening, they're going to correct me. Okay, If you know, right?
Yep.
Anyway, Diana the Huntress is kind of an archetypal goddess. And my first introduction to the whole thing was Starhawk came to Toronto, and we all decided to go to this big outdoor ritual in behind the university. And so that sort of revival, it was all about getting closer to a goddess figure. So honoring the feminine, which doesn't really exist in many of the modern religions. Priests are men, God is a man, identified as a man. Whereas the ancients had gods and goddesses. Holy cow, you can't even keep track of some of them. And they were interacting with mortals and the legends. And so it's getting an image of a powerful woman. You've got your Venus of Willendorf, the ancient little woman who looks like she's pregnant, became a very strong icon. It was a reclaiming, and that was the name of Starhawk's group. It's reclaiming, because you want to reclaim feminine power. And the traditional witch look is sometimes not what really gives you power in terms of a woman. The hooked nose and the ugliness, although sometimes people dress as that to be funny.
Well, it's one of those things where I think it gives always the symbology of evil, when in fact many witches were not evil. They were in fact the healers of ancient times.
Yes, exactly. And they did, they would hang mugwort, which is a herb, outside their door if they dealt with women's problems. Because mugwort is such a great herb for women, as well as motherwort. So those would be little symbols. And they were persecuted because they could help people sometimes a lot more than doctors who were poking and purging and bleeding people, sometimes to death. So they're trusted by other women. My great aunt was a bit of one of those. And she was known for dealing with women's problems, and she read cards, and she did, all the stuff back, and this was a long time ago, because she's a great aunt. So that's something that was being brought back. And Susan Weed, with her Green Witch herbalism, very much about empowering yourself to your own healing and to heal your family and to heal others, whereas the doctors can sometimes really miss the root cause of a problem. And you don't need to take all the drugs that you're prescribed. You can do a lot more gentle healing with herbs and meditation and things like that. So, so it was a big upwelling back in the 70s and 80s of women reclaiming their power to heal, and to do magic, and to read cards, to scry, crystal balls. Yeah.
Do crystal balls really work? Yeah.
You know? Yes.
Okay. So
I have a crystal ball, and
it's actually made of crystal? It's glass?
If I have some... Pardon?
It's made of crystal, it's glass?
It's made of crystal and it's glass. It's clear.
Uh-huh.
And it's not so much that you see things in it, but it amplifies the energy of another person. Because, and again, this was pretty freaky. I was brand new, and some guy at a party challenged me. Oh, can you read that crystal ball? And I held it between us, and I looked and I felt the vibrations, and I described the house that he grew up in.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's like the tarot cards. They're tools. They don't exactly tell you. If you do a spread, it's the vibration that you're getting from the relationship of the cards to each other and the person that you're reading for. So it amplifies their energy so that you can get impressions and see patterns and know what to say about what's going on in their life. It's not so much a telling the future thing. I find it's more like seeing what the patterns are, what may happen if you continue in this direction, where you are now, and what in the past led you to this point. Because usually people want a card reading. It's not because they're happy and joyful, but they have a problem in their life, and they want to get some clarity into sorting it out.
Mm-hmm. So
I could tell you a really freaky story about that. Do we have to have a break now? Because it might be a bit long.
Okay, we'll have a break. When we come back, we'll hear a freaky story about cards.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, we're talking with Laurie Benson. You're listening to Fresh Waves. I'm your host, Bren Masson. We'll be back right after these few messages, so stay tuned.
Hi folks, Kim Mitchell here. You know, however you choose to get around, your ATV, your snowmobile, your boat, car, if you have a motorcycle, all these things take 100% of your attention and skill to operate safely. Alcohol impairs that, and bad things can happen. So, be smart, okay? You know what I'm going to say next.
This message brought to you from the Safe and Sober Awareness Committee.
Hey everyone, this is Lil J. Join me every Saturday night at 11 p.m. Eastern for the Block Party. A 2-hour journey of the best in the Canadian underground dance music scene, featuring tracks and DJ mixes from Canada's emerging artists, from the disco hits of the 70s to the latest dance floor fillers. No lineups or cover charges, it's your weekly free access to the beats that are packing dance floors in Canada and around the world. The Block Party, Saturday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern, right here on 102.9 Whistle FM and online at whistleradio.ca.
And we're back on Fresh Waves. I'm your host, Bren Masson, and we've got Laurie Benson in the studio with us this morning. And we're talking about tarot cards. We've been talking about Halloween and all kinds of fun rituals and the actual significance of this time of the year. But right now, we get to have a story from Laurie about tarot cards. Take it away, Laurie.
Well, tarot cards are...
They're old, aren't
pretty
they?
Powerful in that they amplify the other person's energy and put it into focus so that the reader can get a message to them about where they are on their path. So past, present, future. And usually someone comes for a tarot reading if they want they want to get some direction, right? To see what has influenced them, to see what's going on in their life and where they might end up if they continue on this path. Now, you just mentioned, I don't know, Jude Kingsville, because she's been on the show. So we did a tarot card reading party years ago, and she came to me after, and she said, your friend really ought to leave that boyfriend. He is the most evil person I have ever read for.
Wow.
Yeah. And, well, it turned out that he was doing horrible, horrible things, and she had no idea what he was up to in terms of drugs and underage girls and
Yeah.
his adopted daughter, things like that, creepy, evil things. Okay, but I was going to tell you my story about tarot, which is one that I bring out when people say, "Oh yeah, it's just a game. It's just cards. How can you get a message to somebody reading cards?" So I had a friend call me, and he said, "You've got to read my cards. You've got to read my cards. Can I come over tonight?" And I said, "Sure, come on over. We'll do it." And I laid out the cards, and it was nothing but death, destruction, and horrible cards. They just the worst ones that you get in the worst patterns. So they were all relating to each other, and I went, "Oh, I don't even want to read these cards. Let's reshuffle." Okay, so he reshuffled the cards, posed his question silently, put the cards out again. 75% of them were the same cards in the same position.
Wow.
So I said, "Okay, there's a problem here, and keep it to yourself because I don't want to influence the cards. But what I want you to do now is shuffle again, and ask for the solution to your problem. Don't concentrate on the problem, but ask where you can go for help." So he did, and the cards came out, and the message was very clear that he should call his mother. So I said, "Okay, your mother is the one who can help you with this." And he was quite close to his mother. So he thanked me profusely and went on his way. And I saw him weeks later. And he said, "That tarot card reading you did for me was really important to me. I called my mother that night, and she really helped me out. Because you know what my first question was whether I should kill myself tonight."
Wow.
Yeah. And when you said call your mother, I realized I couldn't do it to her.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. But really, to have the cards shuffled totally again, 72 cards, laid out again, and have almost all of them in the same position of just death and destruction. It was
Wow.
The Tower beside the Death card and the Seven of Swords and all the ones that you just don't want to see. Unless you're beside a good card, and then it often means change. But, so I do believe that you can read a person through the cards.
And
right?
And maybe help that person, obviously.
Yes.
Wow, that's a fascinating story.
Mm-hmm.
All right, So what do you think of these modern day things, like the television show that had, I guess it was Netflix, with Merlin and The Magician? These things are all seeming to come up now. Outlander is just a huge, huge thing with, Claire going through the stones in Ireland and people and Scotland, and they make the trip to Scotland to see the Celtic stones and to see the places that are supposed to be sacred spots.
Yes.
It seems like it never goes away. Whereas religion is 5,000 years old, 2,000 years old, 1,500 years old in some cases. These kinds of things have roots that go back so far beyond what organized religion is today.
Yes, and they are certainly ancient. And when we were on the Isle of Lewis, we went to see a sacred place. You can't even get near Stonehenge these days.
Yeah, it's all tourists.
Up in Scotland, and had looked up this spot. And the power that you could feel in that place, and there were only 2 other tourists there.
Oh.
Was you couldn't speak. Everyone was silent. There was no chit-chat. And it was as if the rocks were vibrating with energy. It was very, very interesting. And then, of course, just as we were leaving, a tour bus came up. But I don't know if they would have been silent too. But
yeah, it's interesting. I felt that same kind of thing at in Sedona. I went up to the petroglyphs and where the people used to live in these indentations in the rocks. They're not really caves, but they're indentations in the rocks, and you can see where they had lived. And I put my hand on a spot where the soot from ancient fires had marked the rock. And even though all this time has gone by since the people lived there, it still has the mark on the rock, and the energy was palpable. It really was. I wasn't imagining it. It was a really great spot.
Yes, I've heard that about Sedona. And no, you're not imagining it, because when you think of the work people have done with crystals and energy, electricity and power and all this, and the rocks are made out of tiny little crystals, tiny little quartz crystals, and they'll be storing memory and then transmitting it.
And energy.
Just like,
yeah,
just like radio transmitters. So if something is that ancient and still that powerful, you can really feel it.
Well, we are going to have you back on another time, because one of the subjects that we haven't touched on that could take at least 2 hours is the subject of the fact that now science is actually proving what people just believed millennia ago. That science is now talking about crystals. Computers are run on crystals. Isn't that interesting? Mm-hmm. That our society is now coming up with the science that perhaps we didn't have back then. But the science isn't proving something new so much as it's just solidifying something very, very ancient.
Yes, and some of the things they're doing with time and space and quantum, proving that, yes, maybe you could be in two places at once, or travel. Time travel probably exists.
Yes, and maybe it is those stones. Maybe it isn't those stones. Maybe there are portals, not just at the stones, but in other places in the earth that if you're open to it, it may draw you in. Who knows?
It just may.
It just may. Well, yeah. You guys are having a haunted house up there near your hometown of Cannington. Can you tell us a little bit about that before we have to go?
I didn't hear the question.
Your haunted house up there.
My haunted house, or do you mean the haunted trail?
The haunted trail, sorry.
Yes, the haunted trail is on now for 2 weekends. So the weekend just before Halloween and the weekend before that. And it's $15 or $12 if you pay in advance. And it's at least 15, 17 scenes that you go through that are all type of different shock value. There can be some, I know I'm working on masks for girls to wear as creepy dolls.
Ew, cool. I hate masks. I find them so creepy.
They are. They are. Some people have an absolute terror of them.
Yes. But, okay, so where is the trail?
Clowns,
Oh, I don't like clowns at all. So where is this taking place?
Pardon?
Where is it taking place?
Okay, it's in Cannington, in the park, McLeod Park.
Okay.
And that's up by the arena. And it's like we had to turn people away last year, so we're doing 2 weekends. I might not personally be there because being on my feet in the cold and damp might not be a good idea.
Right.
So I'm working on costumes and masks and things like that while I can sit at my dining room table. And what else can I say?
Okay, so people...
Oh, yeah, there's a maze as well.
Ooh, that's cool.
There's a huge maze, and there's, the haunted barn with full of zombies.
Full of zombies? Okay.
A lot of people won't go, They'll let their kids go, but they won't go personally.
I wouldn't go because I just figure life is scary enough as it is. I don't really need to go out of my way and make it more frightening than it already is. That's why I don't go on rides at amusement parks either. So we're looking at then the weekend of the 27th of October and the 20th of October.
Yes.
Okay, terrific. Well, if people want more information, they can go on our website.
Friday and Saturday, not Sunday.
Right. Okay. I'll put that on our website for people if they want to look it up.
Yeah, and I think their website is Cannington's Haunted Trail.
Okay. Perfect.
Cannington Haunted Trail. So
thank you.
You've got the space, you've got the place name and the title of the haunted trail, and people who have been to others, because there's a fair amount this time of year.
Right.
They just say ours is the best.
Oh, I'm sure they do. Well, thank you so much for joining us this morning, Laurie, from your convalescing at home. We love having you on the show, and we look forward to having you on probably for the winter solstice. We do our annual show. So
I will see if I have time for that.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, thank you very much. It was great being on again, and I hope I didn't scare anyone too much.
It's okay. It's the season. 'Tis the season to be spooked out and spooky. All right. Well, we're going to close off this segment with the theme song from Outlander, which is the Sky Boat song. Sing me a song of a lass that is gone. Bye, Laurie. We'll talk to you again.
Bye, Brenda.
Sing me a song of a lass that is gone. Say, could that lass be I? Mary of soul, she sailed on a day over the sea to sky. Mull was a stand, rum on the port, Eck on the starboard bow. Glory of youth glowed in his soul. Where is that glory now? Sing me a song of a lass that is gone. Say, could that lass be I? Mary of soul, she sailed on a day over that sea to sky. Give me again all that was there. Give me the sun that shone. Give me the eyes. Give me the soul. Give me the lad that's gone. Sing me a song of a lass that is gone. Say, could that lass be I? Mary of soul, she sailed on a day over the sea to sky.